Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Erickson, and I'd like to introduce you to the Wingx technology. It's a resistance training technology that uses air resistance, accommodating air resistance. And we'll get into the details in a little bit, but first, and more importantly, I wanted to first say thanks for clicking on this link to watch the video. I think it'll be well worth your time. So I was introduced to the Wingx about a couple months ago now, and the inventor was looking for researchers to investigate the Wingx. And so several of us formed a research team to investigate. And when I first saw the wings, I thought, that's certainly non-traditional. And they're definitely non-traditional, very innovative. But as soon as I put them on and started using them and experiencing the smooth resistance and the versatility, I just fell in love with them. And so the purpose of this video is to explain the benefits of the Wingx in an effort to give you information to help you make your decisions. So one of the first things you notice is they're very light, very portable, and this unit actually breaks down and has a carrying bag. So it's, like I said, very portable. So like I said, I teach in the physical therapy program and the exercise science program. And because I'm a physical therapist, work with patients as well as work with college students, my main focus is always on safety. And that's one of the best things I think about the Wingx is that it gives accommodating air resistance. So it's patented technology that gives accommodating air resistance. So when you move back and forth or forward and up and down, no matter which direction you move, you get resistance. And you get resistance in both directions. We'll talk about that in a little more detail in a little bit. But if I, for example, I'm working with a patient who's had a rotator cuff repair, a labrum repair, they've had a shoulder injury, and they're pulling real hard, and all of a sudden they get a little bit of a twinge and they slow down, the resistance is gone. So that's how the resistance accommodates to the individual, each individual, at every point in the range of motion, as compared to a cable or a dumbbell, barbell, resistance band that's always pulling on the patient and can cause injury. So it's accommodating air resistance, and that helps a lot with safety. That's one major feature. Another, I think, is that they're very, very versatile. With the Wingx, as you can see, you can work a single joint in a single plane, okay? And you can go light, you can go moderate, and you can go high intensity. So you can do single joint, low, medium, high intensity, or you can do multiple joints, for example, 2 shoulders, okay? And they're very, very functional. So in addition to getting shoulders bilateral simultaneous, you can include the trunk and get core as well as upper extremities in a rotation pattern, or core and upper extremities in a sagittal plane. And one way to use these is what I just demonstrated, both doing the same thing. Another is alternating, which brings in a lot more core and increases the intensity. But like I said, if you need lower intensity, the patient or client would just slow down and still get good resistance, but at a much lower intensity. And as you can tell that I'm huffing and puffing, the wings also provide a great respiratory challenge. And again, at a lower, medium, or high intensity. Okay, so I mentioned planes just a little bit ago. One of the major aspects, one of my favorite benefits of the Wingx is how functional they are. So if I'm a tennis player and I want to resist my tennis stroke, okay, I just drive with my legs. So when I mimic an athletic activity like a tennis swing and I push hard, I get enough resistance where I can work on the ground reaction force, the ground foot interface. It works my legs and it works my core and my arm all at the same time. So it's very, very functional in single planes or in multiple planes. If I wanted to do diagonals, this is a good core activity. So a PNF diagonal with a focus on power. So the faster I try to go, the more power I'm required to generate and the more resistance that Wingx provides. So they're great for strength, endurance, and power, and they're great for single plane, multi-plane, and they're great for functional training as well as isolated muscle group training. So in addition to PNF patterns in both directions, I just make Z's. And again, the resistance can be high, low, or medium. One other benefit I've noticed, when I use these, my arms will get exhausted, and I'll have, the dead arm feeling that we're after resistance training, but I haven't ever been sore. And so the reason we think that is with the Wingx, it's concentric, 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 instead of concentric, eccentric. And we know that the eccentric action or the eccentric contraction is the contraction that leads to more delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS. So there's much less DOMS. Another benefit is it cuts your exercise time in half, which I really like personally. So with a standard resistance training device, I'll be working, for example, my biceps, and I'll do curls with a dumbbell. But with the Wingx, you work biceps, triceps, or internal rotators, external rotators, internal rotators, external rotators, or left trunk rotators right, left, right, left, right. So you end up cutting your exercise time in half, okay? So they're incredibly versatile, very safe, working at all different intensities, low, medium, high, single joint, multiple joint, functional patterns. And the functional patterns you can do with the Wingx in a much more functional manner than with standard resistance training equipment. So those are the primary benefits. They're obviously portable. It's kind of like having a pool. It's the same kind of feeling as doing resistance training in the water, except you don't need the pool. So it's a lot more convenient. So if you have any questions, feel free to call. My number and my email address is there on the screen. Thanks again for clicking on the email and the link, and we hope to see you soon.